You came for the number 3, but now that you are seated and that you cannot escape, I just lied. There is no number 3, there is no number 2, there is no number 1. Actually, I am Wojtek Swiatek from Dassault Systemes in charge of cybersecurity over there. I'm going to present you the most boring presentation of Black Hat. This is about things you know, about things you've already done, and the more you get bored during this presentation, the better it is. Why? Because if you are bored, if you've done all of it, it means that you are super, that in terms of security, you are away from any other company or organization. So buckle up for this presentation. It's going to be something about the reality of security in companies and organizations. We are not going to talk about politics. We are not going to talk about vendors. Especially, we are not going to talk about arm wrestling with idiots, with people who want to force their view on security just because they think so. And we are not going to talk about the possibilities of the tools. We are going to talk about what you can do, what you have, and this is going to be a 15-minute crash course over a lot of solutions you have to implement. So in order, since we all like metrics, we all like numbers, you will see the crapometer. This is my own invention. The more PowerPoint presentation there is, the more crap the solution is. Then how your teams are going to look, love it. And back for your buck, it's no ROI, return on investment. Return on investment doesn't exist in cybersecurity. Whatever you put, whatever money you put in cybersecurity, it's gone. There is no return. It's just you that can have a feeling whether your money is well spent or not. So, normally, you start with a solution when having a problem, then realizing that you have a solution, then think it's completely crap, and then realizing how it does. We are going to cut short all of this. We are going to concentrate, and you will be able to start from the end, from where the actual solution is. And we start with EDR. EDR, everybody wants to have an EDR, the star of 2021, 2022, 2023, mostly because the EDR was something everybody wanted you to have, especially insurers. Insurers told you, if you don't have an EDR, when you are not going to be insured. So, the EDR, it's easy. If you want to use an EDR, you absolutely need to understand where your assets are. If you don't have a very good understanding of your assets, your EDR is not going to work because you are going to have a hole somewhere. Then you need to have a very good team who will understand what the EDR gives you. Without this, there is no chance to deploy it and to do something. Nothing is going to happen on its own. But on the other side, you get something which is fantastic. This is visibility. So far, you've been blind. You didn't know what was happening in your organization, in your enterprise. You had some ideas about flows in and out, but not what was actually happening on the systems. You have visibility. You have an opportunity to block attacks. You have the ability to understand what your users are doing. It's not going to do it itself. It's not a tool you install, you forget. You have to spend a lot of time on it, but it's a very good tool. The crapometer is low. Really, this is a tool you need to invest. It costs money, but the money is well invested. The problem with DDR is that you have 6 minutes. You have an average of 6 minutes between the moment of one of your users clicking on something and downloading malware. The malware is starting, connecting to a command and control center, going back, the command and control sends some payload. It takes 6 minutes in average for an attack, and you have to be able to block in this attack in 6 minutes. It's really this, it's sometimes shorter, but usually it starts with the first critical 6 minutes, and EDR is going to help you with that. SIEM, the other one, everybody wants to have a SIEM. Everybody needs to correlate events and so on. The reality is that a SIEM works only when you know your data. If you don't know where your data comes from, if you don't know the logs, if you don't know the sources of your alerts, the SIEM is not going to work ever. So you have to understand which logs are useful. If you say firewalls, not useful. If you say typical user activity, not useful. What is useful is to have the logs which provide some security. So if you don't know this, the SIM is not going to work. What you will get is correlation. Everybody wants this, but especially you will get something which is called the cumulative indicators. Means something is happening from here, a small thing from there, a small thing from there, and slowly, 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 you build up a stack of risk, and this is something notable to you. This is what you are going to get. What you won't get is a tool ready to go. You will spend an awful amount of time on it. If you don't have the right source of the data, you are done. It's a good tool, though. SOAR. Everybody wants to have a SOAR now because the SOAR is 2023, 2024, automation. You want to automate everything. Unfortunately, in order to automate, you need to understand what your systems are doing. If you have a lot of situations when you say, I'm doing this manually all the time, I'm pushing this data from here to here. When there is an issue somewhere, my team is doing something. This is a place for a SOAR. This is a place for a tool which is going to automate the things you do manually. It's going to reduce drastically the load on your team. It's going to reduce the number of alerts you have to go through manually. So invest in a SOAR. It's a very, very good tool, but it takes time to work. Everything is AI today, so when you buy a SOAR, the vendors are going to tell you there is AI inside, and the AI is going to do marvelous things. Well, actually not. The AI is not going to do much to you because you need to understand what you want to automate. So if you use what is provided by the SOAR, usually you are going to be in a bad word. ZTNA. Everybody wants to have a ZTNA, zero trust access. ZTNA is fantastic. Everybody uses ZTNA to replace VPN. That's the first thing. But in order to use a good ZTNA, you must be absolutely 100% sure of your DNS posture. If you happen to be in situations where you try to go somewhere and you don't go there because there is a DNS problem, your ZTNA is going to be a disaster. You must be absolutely sure of your DNS. What you are going to do, you are going to replace your VPN. That's easy. You are going to have easy MFA, access to your services. The problems what you are going to have is that there is a very steep curve between I replace my VPN and I actually do zero trust. Why? Because in order to do zero trust, you must make decisions. You make decisions from, am I going to connect from Black Hat to my system? You know, Black Hat, the place all the hackers go to. A ZTNA would say, oh no, that connection is not going to happen because it's from a dangerous place. If you are in your company in a radiation filtered environment with tempest, whatever, then you are going to be absolutely safe, and then ZTNA should give you more access. In order to prepare this, there is a very, very strong learning curve. DLP. DLP is everywhere. It's in ISO. Your regulators want to have DLP. Unfortunately, as you see now, DLP is really on the corner where you don't want to be, on the corner where you are going to do it wrong, and it's very important. Why? Because DLP requires data classification. So you could say, I have data classification. I say this is confidential, this is not confidential. The problem that you need to actually have data classification means you have to have people who can classify the data, understanding what they classify, and make sure that the classification stay. If it's just an X, you know, on an email, it's not data classification because somebody can remove that. If you have code, source code, it's not enough to say this is confidential because somebody can remove it. If you don't have real data classification, then your DLP fails. It's been now almost more than 30 years. I'm still looking for a DLP that works. It can work in some very regulated environments, but if you are a technological company, you're done. So You will get a hit from time to time, fine. You will get lots of false positives. Your regulators will love you. They are going to be happy because you have a DLP, but don't really expect it to block data from going away. Then, NAC, network access control. Network access control, well, this one is actually easier. This one is actually easier because just don't do it. Don't do NAC because you can have the idea that the network protects you and actually it doesn't. So you are completely done if you do NAC. NAC is gone. NAC is away from you. You will never be able to protect a network, your data with NAC. So that one was easy. Now, usually these are products. The problem is that people tend to forget about patching. This not that, sorry, this not that very much because patching is something you do on a regular basis. However, you tend to forget about configuration management. The problem, the attacks today, when you have attacks on, sorry, I was too excited before and I lost my voice. So, the attacks today come from errors in configuration. That's the first place the attackers will go to. Sometimes they will use a vulnerability. Very often they will use a misconfiguration. The other problem is that you can say, my patching is 97%, so it's nice, it's close to 100. Unfortunately, the 3% in these cars were the brakes. So it was almost patched, except for the brakes. So if you don't have, whoa, I'm going to take some water, because otherwise we are not going to make it till the end. So, if you do not patch everything 100%, you are going to have real issues with usually the 3% missing. Then identity management. Don't forget about identity management. This is the way for you to ensure that the people, the objects, the systems, the computers which are getting into your network are well known, well protected, and especially you can make decisions based on them. At the very last, I put awareness. It's probably the most important of all of this because the problem in your organization is usually people. People do mistakes. Almost all the attacks today go through people. The presentation I'm doing for my company is called the People Firewall because the ones who really protect the company are people who know what to do and know what not to do. So awareness, while it's at the very end, is probably one of the most important parts here. Finally, I would like to do a few words about, it's really the last few words, about the wheel. People say, don't reinvent the wheel. I say, do reinvent the wheel, because reinventing the wheel is good. Reinventing the wheel is a good thing. You want to have a round wheel. You don't want to reinvent a triangle wheel. So reinventing the wheel is nice. What you want to avoid is experimenting on that wheel. You don't want to invent how the wheel actually is going to help you, how the wheel is going to work, and this is the kind of information you can get from the few slides above. With this, I thank you very much. If you want to discuss anything related to these products and how they work in real life, feel free. Thank you very much.